Alaikum everyone. I hope you guys are doing good. This is me, Abu Bakr Dilawar. I welcome you all to our latest episode of Founders Kahani. So, as you always know, in Founders Kahani, we always invite startup founders from all around the world so that they can share their insight, they can share their Kahani with you so that you can get inspiration to start your own entrepreneurial journey. So, today we have a very amazing guest, and personally, I am so excited and energetic to host this guest today. So please welcome all the way from GCC, Mahmoud Bartawi. How are you, Mahmoud?
Hey, Abu Bakr, thank you so much for having me. Thank you, everyone that's attending and listening to this session. I think today I'm excited to see you all, and I'm going to share as much as I can, baby steps throughout my journey. And, I think it's a free-for-all session where everyone can ask and learn as much as they can. And I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Abu Bakr.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. By the way, you know what? Why I was so excited to host you today? Because before reaching out to you on LinkedIn, I was looking at your LinkedIn, and I think you have a very amazing journey. And I think you are the guy basically who will say like, "I'm looking for a man in finance, trust fund," right? So you are that kind of a guy. And after that, you also did an amazing exit from your first startup as well. So, Mahmoud, this is Founder's Kahani. So, if I ask you, like, what's your Kahani is?
My Kahani, can you just tell me what does Kahani mean? Or is it a name that everyone just...
It's Kahani means story in Urdu, basically.
The founder story, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share my story. I'm from a small city called Dubai. I'm going to share my story about how I built the brand and took it to the six countries, a few countries around me, and six countries in total, including the US and the UK. So make sure you stick around until the end, everybody, so you get all the juice that's in the story. And I'm happy to start where you want me to start, Abu Bakr. Where should I start?
I think let's start it with basically how you started your journey, how you become an entrepreneur.
How I became an entrepreneur, that's a very interesting question. When I was 13 years old, I went to my father. I said, Baba, I want a motorbike. And he said, if you want to buy that motorbike, you need to work. So I asked him, I said, where am I going to work? And he says, I have a company. Why don't you come with me in your summer break and maybe you can make some money? So I would say my first entrepreneurial journey in the sense where where I understood that I needed to do something out of the box to make money. So making money on my own was the first step, and I started that. And my father had a company where I would go every summer, and the beginning was every summer at my dad's company, trying to save up for that motorbike and to be honest, I never ended up getting that motorbike. It was just his way of getting me to work with not thinking about buying a motorbike that he actually thought was dangerous for me. So I would say I was working every summer of my life, which extended into university as well. So in university also, I had part-time jobs, a few famous brands that I worked for, Showtime, it's a TV station. We had HSBC, which was a bank. So I was always working throughout my school and university life, but always for other people. And what happened was when I was 27 years old, my father died. And when my father died, it kind of pushed me to entrepreneurship. And I'll tell you why. What happened when my dad died was he had his company that I told you guys about, and he left a company and there was no one there to run it. And that company had a few issues that needed to be sorted out. And I had a full-time job at the bank at the time. So I was 27 years old working at the bank, and my brothers and my sisters say, listen, we need you to manage the company, do this on the side. So my dad died. It was really emotional. I had to get over that. I had to kind of carry the family, which is my brothers and my sisters' weight. And, they asked me, I couldn't say no, even though I wasn't the oldest one. So I worked in his company, and that took me 9 months. So I had a full-time job. It took me 9 months in his company. And the fact that my dad died kind of all made me realize that this was the point where I needed to do my first business, because that's something I always wanted to do. And I thought, how do I, this was the push, this was the tipping point, I would say, into entrepreneurship for me as a young man at 27 years old. I'm sure, everyone watching here thinks, if you haven't started yet, you don't need to wait for an event to happen. But I think, usually change happens in our life when an event happens. Sometimes not as tragic as the one that happened for me, but that was kind of that tipping point for me. Dad died. I thought, okay, what am I going to do? I'm a man on my own now. I have a job. I just took care of, this debt that was there in the family business, and I had to deal with the court and the bank. And there was quite a bit of, it was uncomfortable enough to make me realize that if I could do this for someone else, I could do it for myself. It's time to start, Mahmoud. Like, just go. That was kind of the first emotion that I had that pushed me to entrepreneurship. So to answer your question, that's where it started. I was about 27 years old.
Okay, that's very interesting. By the way, I can very relate to most of your kahani as well, because I also had my dad's business, and I started working when I was 18 years old back in my high school. My dad has a textile business, so I have started my first startup when I was in high school in clothing as well. So now I am 23 years old, and I'm trying to build some things on my own as well. So tell me more about, like, what was your startup that you exited recently?
Sure. First of all, look, that's great. The textile business is very traditional. And I think a lot of people, I think a startup can be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be tech. Today we hear about tech businesses, but my startup was not really a tech business. So when I was 27 years old, that was about a few years back. I decided. So at the time, I worked at the bank, which was a corporate 9 to 5, and I was looking for healthy food options. So my startup was in the healthy food space. How it started was at the time in Dubai, so I'm from a small city called Dubai, for everyone listening. It's a city called Dubai. It's in a country called the United Arab Emirates, which are 7 states together. And then if you take one level above that, you got the GCC, which is the Gulf Cooperation countries. And maybe you've heard of Saudi, Kuwait, Oman, United Arab Emirates. These are just a few of the countries in it. So back to my story on the startup, I was 27 years old and I wanted to eat healthy. And every time I went to my gym coach, so I would have a guy in the gym who was kind of like my mentor. I always believed in mentorship. So I went to the gym, I found this guy who looked good, and I said, how do I look like you? And he said, look, 30% of it is food, 70% of it, 30% of it is working out, 70% of it is food. Why don't you focus on, why don't you get a meal plan? So I looked around, and for everyone here, a meal plan is basically a box which has your 3 meals in a day. And I tried that for 2 months, and I used to drag this box with me to work. And if ever if any of you have tried it, you realize that it's very inconvenient. The food is always cold. It doesn't really taste that good, but it's cheap and it does, And I tried it for a couple of months. I got rid of the plan. I couldn't commit. I realized that the biggest problem was commitment, because when you commit, you need to commit for 1 month in advance. So I had done 2 months. I had a fridge with all of this food because I was eating out while eating this meal plan. So I don't know if you guys have tried it, but it's pretty not very nice to have a fridge full of food and you start feeling bad about it. So you cancel the plan. While this was going on, I thought, hey, what if I contacted the shop next to my house and asked them if I could franchise a location? And at the time, that was a healthy food brand. Maybe some of you heard of this brand. It's called Subway.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so I went to Subway and said, hey, can I franchise your brand? And they looked at me and they said, look, you have no experience, young man. Come back when you have more experience. So I said, look, I work in a bank. They said, we don't care if you work in the bank. You need to have franchise experience. You know, all of our franchisees are. So I couldn't fit that box. I realized that, but I didn't let it stop me. So what I did was I went and franchised a non-healthy food brand called German Doner Kebab. So it was another brand in Dubai. I went to the owner of the brand. I said, look, if you allow me to be a franchisee in your brand, I promise I'll take care of your brand. You know, I will do everything I can to. And I had some cash with me saved over the years at the bank. And I borrowed also a bit of money from the bank, you know, like a personal loan, which I don't advise anyone to do because I feel that it really got me stuck into the project at some point having a loan, like emotionally.
Yeah.
Long story short, I put whatever I had and a bit of the bank's money, took this guy's brand, opened it in another location, and started paying him royalties. So it took me 6 months to run the brand, to open the shop. I ran the brand for 6 months. I was paying him royalties. And after 1 year of having that first conversation with him, I gave him the brand back. So he took the brand back, jumped into franchising and I became then a franchisee, and 1 year later, I gave him the brand back at a break-even price, got the experience, and decided to, to exit and do my own healthy food brand. So that was the first time I realized that I had the experience to do it. But what I didn't have was something called a website and something called branding. I knew how to operate a restaurant. I knew how to sell food, but I didn't understand how to. I didn't understand how to. How do you do branding? How do you do a website?
Yeah.
This was a few years ago. YouTube wasn't as popular, so getting information wasn't as easy. So I basically, after I exited the first, well, it wasn't an exit. It was an exit of a franchisee of one location. I said, this is my time to make my dream come true. So I took the money that I had, which was the same money I had before the project, and I went and rented a new location to start my healthy food brand. And I said, I'm going to go and find myself someone to do the website and the branding. And I remember that there was this guy in another university that I knew. He was kind of a friend's friend. And all he did was branding and websites. He was like the expert guy. So I go to his office and I say, look, I went to his office. I said, hey, you know, Fadi, I hear a lot of good things about you. I've seen you before. Can we work together? How much do you want to give me the website and the branding? And he basically worked with me for a couple of months. He didn't want any money. He said, look, I really like you. I want to work with you. How can we work together? Can I be your partner? So my co-founder came to me very, we kind of became co-founders. I was looking for a co-founder, but I didn't know it was going to be him. And I didn't know how it would happen. But he kind of asked me, I kind of wasn't in the right zone. We decided to do it. And he had some money saved up as well. So the same way I had some money saved up to do a project, he had the same thing. And he had the skills that I didn't have. So it's like complementary skills.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important when you're looking for a co-founder, right? And it happened for me by luck, but looking back, I would say, get somebody who can do something that you can't do, but you have the same values. So you kind of, you don't see each other in a negative way. You trust each other.
Yeah.
And we started it. We decided that, he was really good at branding. Fadi's idea was that, for the meal plan, what would happen then is, the problem with the meal plans was obviously the commitment. So that's why we wanted to do a healthy food restaurant so that people could order one meal. And Fadi was good at branding, and he said that the average BMR for a human, which is if you go online and you put BMR calculator, which is basically your the input would be your age, your height, your gender, and how much you work out. If you put these four variables in a website called the BMR calculator, it'll tell you that the average BMR, which is how many calories a person needs to be in their same shape, is about 1,800. Now, what that means is 1,800 calories. So if you wanted to lose weight, you'd need to be in a deficit, which means if you ate 1,500 calories, which is what the meal plans would sell everyone, then you would eventually lose weight. So what we did is take the 1,300, break it down into three different meals and call it under 500. So that's what we call the brand, under 500. We thought if we called the brand under 500, then the name would be timeless. Like say, if we went and opened a branch in Argentina, for example, then over there, 70% of the menu would be fixed, 30% would be variable, and basically anything under 500 calories could go under it. And calories is a universal thing. It's not like a fad or like a diet that can get eroded over time. It's a scientific thing. If the average is 1,800 calories, if you eat 3 meals a day, that's 500, 500, 500, you should lose weight. And the beauty about this is because it was a restaurant and not a meal plan company, a user could have one meal. So the top of the funnel, imagine the person who's in university who heard about healthy and just wants to go healthy. They have an option to actually try one meal without having to commit for the full 2 months or 1 month tenor that the meal plan companies were doing. And that's kind of how we started. We started with one location. And we expanded within the next 6 to 7 years to 25 locations in 6 countries, and through franchising and through dark kitchens. So I would say 2 ways. And then the dark kitchens company that we were working with, called Kitopi Kitchens in Dubai, they raised money from SoftBank, which is you guys could look it up. It's Masayoshi Son's company, which is investing a lot in this region. So they invested through Kitopi, bought a ton of restaurants. Ours was one of it. And I think, growing it was very exciting, taking it to all of these countries. Yeah, and like I said, franchising was hot at the time. It died halfway through our journey. I was in the UK trying to sell a franchise, couldn't, bumped into dark kitchens. And that's kind of how the journey started, where they ended up acquiring us. So that's in a nutshell how it went down, Abu Bakr. I hope, I wasn't, I hope I didn't miss anything essential, but I think that's pretty much it. Find someone, with similar values and see if you guys can do something together.
Yeah, exactly. I'm 100% agreed with you. Like finding the co-founder, it's very important. I can very relate to it because, I've been part of two government-funded incubations, and one of the incubation was for the university students, right? So most of you see like in the university students, the people say like, yeah, we are two developers and then we are two co-founders, right? So people don't actually think that you have to find a co-founder of that skills which you are lacking basically, right? To make a good business. Yeah,
Exactly. You usually see the thing that looks like you and you like the thing that acts and looks and talks like you. So it's kind of counterintuitive, but it's
yeah,
the same values, but different like skills, if
yeah.
that makes sense.
Exactly, exactly. You have to find basically the person, you have to find a co-founder that can make a good team with you, right?
Exactly. Team, you said the perfect word.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And also like I personally believe that more than the startup itself, the founders matters more, right? And
Right.
by the way, when you said Dubai is a very small city, it's kind of funny to me because it's one of the major business hubs right now in the world, right? So,
Right. Right.
so talking about the business hub of Dubai, there are a lot of young startup founders like me, and even the people who are at the scalable stage wanted to move to the GCC, right? And you also help businesses to thrive in GCC. So, can you tell me like what are the some challenges that you basically face during settling in your business in GCC, and what are the major factors that you should keep in your mind before coming to the GCC?
Right. So that's a very interesting question. I think the GCC is very hot in the startup
Yeah.
space, simply because change needs to happen. And, I think the, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, they have, I heard about, I didn't get the chance to attend LEAP, but I heard it was very big in Saudi. In Dubai, we have the Finance Summit. We have quite a few startup events that are happening,
Yeah.
and I think there's a big attraction. Why? So the question is, why the GCC? I would say number one, it's exciting times because there's a big push towards startups in this region. Number two, the people that you want to hire would probably want to work in somewhere in this area. So if I was, sitting down, for example, in Pakistan, and I wanted to work with more of a dynamic team, an international team, I would imagine that in Dubai I could find an Emirati, a French guy, a British guy. You got that? It's a very
Yeah.
metropolitan city, so I wouldn't say if you're looking for a low cost place, there are options to start lower cost through incubators. There are many business centers that will give you a cheap license. I don't think that that's what is needed. I think always cost is the second part. If you think about any startup to end, there's always the proof of concept, and then later comes the scale. So in your proof of concept stage, you need really good people. Where do you find people that are abundant with ideas? Well, not just abundant with ideas, but I would say, they want to live and work in that place. And if someone wants to live and work in a certain place, like if someone wants to live in Dubai because they see Saudi and the growth in the GCC, and they imagine that, they would be on the world map if they are in Dubai, then you'll get that exposure. And you'll be able to find really good talent that wants to live here. I think co-founding with somebody means you have to spend a lot of time with them. It doesn't mean that you need to be, working from the GCC. You can even start your concept somewhere else, raise money for a Series A, and then kind of say, okay, I now want to go and have my second office in Dubai, which I work with quite a few. I advise quite a few Series A startups that basically have done exactly that, which is they've tackled something in their market, they have product market fit, and now they have a small budget and they just want to test in the GCC and say, what is this, commotion about? I heard about the GCC, I heard about Dubai. How do I penetrate the market? How do I get into the market? And that's where kind of someone like me would be able to help them. At the very basic level, I would say have at least the product market fit and a few customers, because you don't want to get into a place with trying to do research. So first you have to settle in and then do research. That's going to take a long time. If you have a small product market fit, then you just need to do a market entry kind of research. Your time to execution is less, I would say.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. By the way, I have seen like with the investor landscape has also evolved a lot in GCC. So can you tell me like what's the insights of the investor landscape in GCC and in Dubai specifically? What are the investors' mindset like on what type of startups they like to more invest on?
That's a great question, Abu Bakr, and I think everyone should, really understand the dynamics here. First of all, I know that everybody listening to this knows about VC funding and family offices, but I would just bring a fact to light. Uh, all the VC money in the world is 1% of the world's money. 99% of the world's money is controlled by family offices. And when I say family offices, I mean family businesses. So, many companies, the companies that we hear about are more, the ones that get funded are just 1% of the total pie, guys. So just to let you guys know, and that's the same statistic here. So again, you would need connections to family offices to get to those bigger rounds, or, to influential people. I would say that's a very important part of it. And how do you get the attention of those people? By having a product that they like. And what is that product that we usually like in the GCC? We like a product that's already working somewhere else. So if you look at, I don't want to talk about something that hasn't happened. I'm just going to look backward. What are the previous companies that did well in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates? Careem got
Yeah,
acquired by Uber.
yeah,
So Uber
exactly.
came first, not Careem. Souk got acquired by Amazon. Souk.com got acquired by Amazon.
Yeah.
So Amazon was there before Souk.com. So if you're looking to build a startup and get acquired, I would say start with something that's already happening somewhere else and bring it here, prove your concept, and then you have much higher chance. No one likes to get burnt with the cowboy that goes and chases something that's never been done before, and then but it's much easier to convince someone, hey, it's working somewhere else. I now want to do it in your market. let's give it a shot. Or I'm doing it in your market, I need more money. That's kind of like the conversation that they like to listen to here.
Yeah.
So I hope that everyone takes that really and understands that, at the core, what is the past trades, and they base their next kind of adventure on, I'm not saying it needs to be the same. I'm just saying, looking back, you can see the trend.
Yeah.
The trend is your friend always, try to
Yeah.
stay on trend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Dream Story is basically the this benchmark, right? And I even met the founder last year, Mudassir Shekha, and he's a very inspiring
Wow.
entrepreneur, yeah, as well. So because I am a community builder, so I know a lot of people in the ecosystem as well. So yeah, he's a very inspiring entrepreneur as well. Basically, for startups who are looking to expand into GCC, what are the most effective market entry strategies?
Oh, really great question.
Yeah,
Network, relationships. So build relationships before you go into a market, guys. It doesn't matter which country, it's humans that we're working with. That cold call email, that person that's really upset in a corporate job when you send them a cold email, ignore them all, send cold
yeah,
emails, get to know people. I would say expand your network. You have
yeah,
platforms like LinkedIn where you can post your intention. I can go and research a topic and write about something that I'm still researching. And sometimes you post about it, and the person that's two steps ahead of you comments, and then you become friends with someone because you put your intention out there. So when you write something down on paper, your intention from your head becomes a reality. What if you put it on a post your intention out there, and flies get attracted to food they find good. So your intention could be, just 3 out of 10. You could say, look, I want to do a company in Dubai with 1, 2, 3. And the other guy could come and say, hey, you know what? I'm in Dubai with a company that's similar and I need your help. I'm
okay,
just saying, could that happen? You would never know if you didn't try. But what if you said, I have this problem? Just put it out there, I would say, whether it's a cold email, whether it's a post. So there's warm, there's outreach, which is cold. Get your idea out of your head onto a paper and out there, because you can't be the only one with that problem. If you're a
yeah,
customer, if you're a co-founder, there are other people facing it. How do you bring them together? By putting it out there. So don't be afraid to get rejected. I got rejected so many times in so many different countries. It's if I go back to when I was working in Showtime, I was 16 years old. I just started university, and I go to this company that's a TV company, a TV station, and they gave me a book. They said for 3 months, you're going to do something called cold calling.
yeah,
And in essence, I'm a salesman. My basic tactic was just to call everyone, and I got rejected so much there that I realized it's not personal.
yeah,
You can get
exactly.
rejected every day. You can walk down to get a cab on the road. Well, yeah, and they could just drive past. Are you going to feel bad about it? When are you going to realize that no one's going to always accept you? You're not that special. Get rejected. Out of the 100, 2 people will accept you. But if you don't make those 100 calls, you're never going to get accepted. That's for sure. So entering a new market, I want to get relationships with 100. I'm going to try with 100 people. I'm going to try to put my intention out there. So outreach, new people.
Yeah,
Put my information out there, get someone coming that's warm. So two different kinds of outreach, guys. Make it happen. It's not that hard. Any market, it's possible. In the end, they're humans reading and consuming that content. So attract them.
yeah. So, by the way, I have seen like there are a lot of government initiatives happening in GCC to support startups, basically. So, how a startup who is non-Arabic can get leverage from those initiatives and government policies?
Look, I don't think that the language is a barrier. We speak English here. Well, the business language in the GCC is in English. I know Saudis were 75% in UAE. On a government level, everyone speaks. You have to speak English to get your transaction done. 75% of the people in my country, the UAE, speak English. 16.6% in Saudi speak English. That's according to Google. Um, and I can tell you that pretty much everyone in the UAE would understand English because people are speaking it all the time. So um, I think that the problem is the other way. What we have here is a lot of incubators in the UAE that there is not enough startups with traction. So what they do is they actually go to other countries to bring people in who are in Series A. So how do you get to Series A as soon as possible in your market? That's the question you need to answer. How can I get my product market fit in my market and then move to like a Saudi and Dubai and like scale it across a new group of customers?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
you have to have something. You wouldn't just come with an idea. I think that's the biggest mistake to do. You come with an idea and you pay a lot of money to live in a place that's more expensive than where you are. Your access to talent. So you come with something so that your access to capital opens up.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, Mahmoud, what do you see as the future of the GCC startup ecosystem? What trends and technologies will shape the industry in coming years?
A great question. I think again, what's happening somewhere else that works here. I think the innovation is there, but we're still not there where, that thing that's never been done before, from what I see, from the investor appetite I see, from the people I meet, the first question is it running somewhere else?
Yeah,
Who is your main competitor? Show me where it has worked already. You got that?
yeah, yeah,
So, that's kind of, no one wants to be the cowboy that bet on someone that went and crashed and burned. They don't mind if, the story for them of, again, going back to Kareem and, people funded Kareem because they heard about Uber. Kareem said, look, there's Uber there. They might buy us one day. Okay, that's what you want to do. But if, Uber, I would say if you wanted to be the first, then maybe you should go to, Silicon Valley actually and hang out over there. If because the investors there and the startup guys there are kind of on that wavelength where they want to do something that's never been done and also get funded.
yeah,
That's a different game.
yeah, exactly.
I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying it's much harder.
Yes, exactly. So, Mahmood, I'm also part of Gen Z. So, Gen Z always see a cool aspect in every serious thing. So, this most of the podcast is serious. So, but now I have a very cool question to ask from you. If I give you a chance to invite three people on your dinner table, dead or alive, who that will be?
Who will they be? That's a really interesting question. I definitely want to see Elon Musk. I think he's a smart guy. Um, I'd like to see Prophet Muhammad. There's something, probably a couple of questions I wanted to ask, maybe about the afterlife. I'm not that religious, but I care about religion. The older I'm getting, the more I'm, realizing, there are a lot of questions that come up, and the questions inside me. Maybe it would be good to meet someone like that. So probably Elon Musk to ask about the future, probably Prophet Muhammad to ask about more than that in the future. And third person I would say is my dad, who passed away in 2010. If I could, I'd bring him back, have one more dinner with him and tell him all the things that I didn't tell him when he was alive. So that would be three people probably I would meet. Elon Musk,
Interesting choice.
yeah, Elon Musk, Prophet Muhammad, and probably my dad.
Yeah, interesting choice, interesting choice. Thank you so much, Mahmood, for jumping onto this call. It's been amazing to having you on my podcast as well. And thank you so much, guys, for listening to Founders Kahani today. I hope you guys learned a lot from today's episode with Mahmood's Kahani as well. So see you in next week. Allah Hafiz.